If you look at the soft drink market in India, it is essentially a massive multi-decade monopoly. This lineup of bottles shows exactly who has been in charge. Giant brands owned almost exclusively by Coca-Cola and PepsiCo. Historically, whenever a local Indian beverage started gaining traction, drinks like Gold Spot or Original Thumbs Up, these global giants deployed a highly predictable playbook. They either bought the regional brand outright or ruthlessly ran it into the ground. But right in the middle of this incredibly hostile territory, a small startup founded by Saurabh Munjal managed to slip through the cracks. His brand, Lahori Zeera, grew into an 800 crore rupee company that currently pumps out over 5 million bottles a single day. And they did not beat the duopoly by spending billions of dollars on celebrity ad campaigns. They survived by solving a single, highly restrictive mathematical calculation. Their entire business model hinges on this single, non-negotiable object: a 10 rupee coin. But selling a bottled drink at the specific price point is notoriously difficult. A 10 rupee retail price isn't 10 rupees in the bank. Instantly, the government takes 40% in GST, leaving 6 rupees. The shop owner takes 2 rupees, and distributors take 1. The company is left with exactly 3 rupees. From this 3 rupee sliver, they must manufacture the plastic bottle, print the label, source sugar and raw spices, pay for factory electricity, and transport the finished product. On paper, this exact cost structure bankrupts most companies. Yet Lahori Zeera has consistently maintained a 15% profit margin from day one. So how is it mathematically possible to run a business this way? The answer starts with a massive blind spot in the beverage market. Foreign companies were incredibly focused on pushing their own familiar profiles: colas, lemon, and orange. They completely ignored India's deep, traditional preference for chatpata, those uniquely tangy, spicy flavor profiles. Before the Lahori Zeera, if you wanted a traditional drink like Jeera, you usually had to buy it here from a local street vendor, mixing it by hand in a bucket, which often brought obvious hygiene concerns. The founders realized they could capture this massive demographic by taking that highly specific, highly desired local taste and simply standardizing it inside a clean, professionally sealed bottle. The resulting data was surprising. Their very first loyal customers were not teenagers looking for a sugar rush. They were older adults in their 50s and 60s who viewed ingredients like cumin and rock salt as a healthy digestive aid. By bottling a flavor profile that Indian families had already trusted for generations, Lahori Zeera generated immense, unforced consumer demand. They didn't have to convince people to like the taste. They just had to give them a safer, more reliable way to drink it. But having strong demand means nothing if you lose money on every bottle. Because that 10 rupee price tag was locked in place, the team had to engineer their survival entirely through back-end operations rather than marking up the retail cost. This production line shows their first major tactic. Instead of outsourcing to third-party bottling plants, they built their own manufacturing setup right away. This completely eliminated external markups and ensured the exact same taste profile in every single batch. Next, they strategically placed these facilities directly adjacent to their highest demand markets. In the Indian beverage industry, the heavy summer sales window is extremely short. Cutting the physical distance between the factory and the consumer severely slashed their transportation costs. They also resisted the urge to launch multiple products. By running a single flavor line for years, they kept their raw material sourcing simple and their factory lines running continuously, avoiding any costly retooling delays. This animation highlights how they handled inflation. When the government raised the GST on soft drinks, they refused to increase the retail price to 15 rupees. Instead, they shrank the bottle volume from 200 milliliters down to 160. By aggressively restricting their variables to one price point, one flavor, and in-house production facilities, they built an operational engine capable of squeezing a reliable 15% profit out of absolute pennies. Getting the product out of the factory and onto shelves was an entirely different problem. Nearly 70% of India's population lives in rural or semi-urban areas, which means navigating a fragmented, chaotic distribution network, like this local Kirana store. Instead of begging large regional distributors to carry an unknown brand, the founders physically walked the streets themselves. They visited local shops, handed out free samples, and let the owners taste the drink directly. This created a bottom-up pull. Once local customers tried it and started asking for Lahori Zeera by name, the regional distributors were forced to start stocking the inventory to meet the retail demand. With the distributors now reliant on them, the company enforced strict terms. They demanded advance payments for inventory and instituted a hard no-return policy on unsold stock. By generating real grassroots demand and refusing to operate on credit, Lahori Zeera bypassed the cash flow traps that typically destroy young consumer packaged goods startups. Naturally, once you prove a specific market is highly profitable, everyone else wants in. Very quickly, over 70 copycat brands flooded the shelves trying to siphon off their sales. These competitors mimicked the exact shape of the glass bottle, matched the 10 rupee price point, and slapped similar Jeera names on their labels to confuse buyers. Even large corporate players took notice, but the international brands couldn't drop their flagship products to 10 rupees without compromising their own premium pricing structures. And the smaller local clones simply couldn't compete on the margins. They lacked the optimized in-house supply chain required to actually make a profit at that price, and they couldn't perfectly replicate the exact taste that customers had already locked into. Ultimately, this wave of copycats backfired. It expanded the Desi drink category and left Lahori Zeera as the benchmark customers used to judge everyone else. This chart compares India's soft drink consumption against the rest of the world. Currently, the average Indian drinks only about 7 to 8 liters of soft drinks a year. The global average is around 45 liters. The physical room for growth is immense. Lahori Zeera is aggressively filling that gap. As you can see by the sheer volume moving out on these supply trucks, the brand has expanded into 18 states, rolled out new traditional flavors like Nimbu and Kacha Aam, and is actively tracking toward a revenue target of 800 crore rupees. Their trajectory proves that to win in a market of 1.4 billion people, you don't always need to outspend global giants on marketing or force a premium lifestyle product onto the masses. By respecting rural purchasing power, tapping into established cultural tastes, and optimizing for razor-thin margins, the founders grew the brand into a company that now ships 5 million bottles every day.
Don't forget to share, comment, and subscribe.